Hey, little bin, nice to see you back and working. How do we get to this point? Let's take a look.
Hi, and welcome to the channel. There's Little Bin in the background working away, but a week ago things were not so sweet. So what happened was that Optus, which is a Singapore-based Australian telco here, fell over, had a major snafu. In fact, killed 5 people because the 000, which is our emergency response number here, went offline for those people who had Optus as their telco. I'm not sure the technical details. I'll give you a few links so you can explore it yourself if you like. But basically, when you put critical infrastructure in the hands of private companies, this seems to be, like a common thing. So yeah, years of decades of poor governance in this country, which of course is our superpower. So at the same time as that was all happening, the 2.4 gigahertz band on my local router decided that it was no longer acceptable at the other end, at Optus's end. I contacted them. They said that's a nonsense, and they contacted me back a couple of times. In fact, 4 times in the end. But they contact me in such a way that I can't actually contact them back. So it's sorry, not sorry, the appearance of doing something, but no help whatsoever. So I needed to solve the problem myself, so I thought it'd be easy. All I have to do is to go into the code, change the SSID to the new one, which was being accepted by Optus, and then we'd be back online again. So as is often the case these days, I enlisted the help of Gemini AI, and we sat down together and we solved it. I think it's a shortish journey, but I think it's a journey worth taking. So let's dive in and see what happened and how it was fixed. So updating the Little Bin project once the telco had nuked my SSID was a little more interesting than I expected. I thought I would just go in and change the SSID, and that didn't work. It didn't even compile, actually, and the problem was that some of the libraries were outdated, and I changed the libraries and updated the libraries, and then I had to do some code noodling. I eventually got it to compile, and that was fine. Then I had problem uploading it because the ESP32S3 was inside the little bin, and getting to the button, which is tiny on the Shao version, in the boot button so I could upload it, was problematic. So I ended up pulling it out, actually, and even then it was a bit of a pain. Those buttons are tiny. But then when I was able to finally upload it, it compiled fine, it uploaded fine, but it wasn't working fine. And so I enlisted the help of Gemini AI, and there's a whole log of our interaction. But this is probably the best bit, which is the analysis that I asked Gemini to do at the end. So let's just go through and see what it did. So the main distinction was, or the main change was, we went from the ESP async web server library, which I'd used in the original file, to just the web server library. And yeah, so that was fine. And that worked well. But then this idea of blocking or non-blocking was a bit of an issue. So yeah, it was pretty poorly coded on my behalf to start with. All I did was just check and check and check and check, whereas probably should have used the approach that Gemini did in the end, which was to use millis. And so what happens is that it just keeps checking back, but the rest of the processor can get on with doing what it wants to do, and so there's no blocks. And so mine just restarted. Here you can see I just restarted if there was a failure. And Gemini said that's not very graceful, and had a more graceful approach to it. So it just continuously tries to reconnect in the background. Apparently I had some redundant logic. In other words, I got the flashing to indicate there was an issue which cropped up. I just copied and pasted that into different functions, and it just created a function which you could reuse, which is much more sensible. It's got this nice little, it actually outputted this little HTML file for me, including the rundown in the green here of what's actually happening now versus what was happening before, where it was just freezing and stopping with some error messages. So yeah, if you're interested in the full conversation, I will put that on the GitHub along with this brutal takedown, which appears on the blog as well, and also the code that actually works, or currently works. Who knows what's going to happen in 3 years' time. So I'm going to call that the circuit working for this week. It's a short one, but an important one. When you come back to a project and you find that things have changed, what do you do? in my case, do what you can and then eventually just enlist AI to do the final polishing. Although, if you read this analysis, I think Gemini would say this is not a polishing, this is a takedown. Anyway, we'll catch you next time, and in the meantime, happy coding with or without your AI friends.